10 rules to make women obsess over you. Most of you will be gone in the next 10 seconds. That's fine. This video isn't for most men. It's for the ones who are done chasing, done overthinking, done bending themselves to fit into someone else's fantasy. You're here because you know something's off. You've played the game the way they told you to. Be nice, be available, be open. And yet, you still find yourself ignored, ghosted, overlooked. Let me say this plainly. It's not because you're not good enough. It's because you've been trained to give your power away. And here's the truth. Nobody told you. Attraction has nothing to do with how handsome you are, how much money you've got, or how smooth your lines are. It's about energy. The kind of energy that doesn't beg, that doesn't prove, that doesn't chase. There's a kind of man who walks into a room and instantly shifts the temperature, not by what he says, but by who he is. He doesn't try to be noticed, but people notice. He's calm, unshaken. He doesn't need attention because he's already full. And that, right there, drives women crazy. Not because he's playing some manipulative game, but because he's rooted in himself. And the truth is, that kind of man is rare. And in a world where most men are desperate for validation, the rare one becomes irresistible. If that doesn't sound like you yet, that's okay. You're here now, and by the time we're done, you're not going to just understand how attraction works. You're going to embody it. You'll see why the strongest energy in the room is silence. Why caring less doesn't mean being cold. It means being in control. Why women obsess over men they can't figure out. And why the most powerful thing you can ever do in this game is walk away. This isn't about tricks. It's not about manipulation. This is about mastery of your emotions, your attention, your identity. Because when you get that right, everything else follows. So if you're ready, not just to change how women see you, but how you see yourself, stay exactly where you are. You're about to remember the version of you that doesn't chase, doesn't fold, doesn't explain. He just moves with purpose, with peace, with presence, and they follow every time. Part 1. The invisible power that makes her feel you before you speak. Have you ever walked into a room and instantly felt the energy shift? Not because someone said something, not because music changed, but because someone walked in. And without saying a word, everyone looked. You didn't know why. No one announced him. But there was something about him. A presence, a stillness, a quiet intensity that you couldn't ignore. That's the kind of man we're talking about. Most guys focus on the surface. They chase better looks, better lines, better cars. But the truth is, attraction starts before a single word is spoken. It starts with energy, the way you carry yourself, the way you sit in silence, the way you breathe when the world tries to rush you. You see, presence is not about what you do. It's about how you are. A woman can sense when a man is deeply anchored in himself. She can feel when he's not looking for approval, when he doesn't need her attention to feel good about who he is. And that kind of man, even if he's not the tallest, richest, or most charming, suddenly becomes the most captivating person in the room. It's not about putting on a show. It's about letting your stillness speak louder than your words ever could. Because when a man is grounded, he becomes magnetic. He doesn't push, he pulls. He doesn't chase connection. He invites it. This doesn't mean being emotionless. It means being composed. It means walking into any space, a date, a meeting, a party, with the quiet belief that you belong there, that you don't need to perform, that if someone doesn't see your value, that's okay, because you do. And here's what's wild. When you stop trying to prove yourself, people start leaning in, especially women. Because what's rare is respected. And calm, rooted masculinity, that's rare. So, if you've ever wondered why the loud guy telling jokes gets laughed at, but the quiet guy in the corner gets remembered, now you know. It's not about being the center of attention. It's about being the center of yourself. That's what they feel. That's what they remember. And that brings us to something most men will never fully grasp. Something that changes the entire dynamic in any relationship the moment you understand it. Part 2. The one who cares less wins. This is going to sting for some, but it needs to be said. In almost every emotional exchange, whether it's texting, dating, or even long-term relationships, the one who is less emotionally invested always holds the power. You've seen this play out. Maybe you've lived it. You're texting someone you're into. They reply late, dry, no effort. And what do? You double text. You overthink. You start wondering what you did wrong. You give more, hoping it makes them care. But all it does is push them further away. And here's why. We value what we feel we could lose. We're wired that way. Humans chase what's uncertain. We want what's not guaranteed. And the moment you become too available, too eager, too giving, it sends a signal. You need them more than they need you. And whether they realize it or not, that changes how they see you. Now, this isn't about playing games. It's about mastering your emotional response. Because if every little thing she does, a slow reply, a canceled plan, a flirt with someone else, if all of that makes you spiral, then she's not the one leading the relationship. You're letting your emotions lead it. And that's not power. That's dependency. Imagine this. She cancels a date. Most guys would send a long, guilt-tripping text. A high-value man. He acknowledges it, stays calm, and moves on with his evening. No drama, no desperation. And guess what? That moment of detachment does more than any clever line ever could. It leaves her wondering, why doesn't this bother him? Why isn't he chasing like the others? Because you're different. Because you know your worth doesn't rise and fall based on someone else's attention. Because you've trained yourself not to react, but to respond. And that difference, that control, is intoxicating. Think of the most unforgettable men in history, the ones who led armies, built empires, left legacies. Were they emotional messes? No. They were calm, strategic, patient, stoic. They knew that the one who can stay cool when others are melting down is the one who wins. You don't have to become cold. You don't have to fake indifference. But you do have to get to a place where you're okay with any outcome. Where your peace isn't up for negotiation. Where you'd rather walk alone in power than stay where you're disrespected. Because when you get there, when your peace becomes your top priority, you become the puzzle. And women don't forget puzzles. They keep coming back to solve them. So the next time you're tempted to chase, to over-explain, to win someone over, pause. Ask yourself, who holds the power here? And is it worth giving mine away? You already know the answer. Stay grounded, stay calm, let them wonder. Because when you care less, not in cruelty, but in confidence, you never lose. And now that you understand emotional control is everything, wait until you see what happens when you master the next level: silence, scarcity, and strategy. That's coming next. Part 3. Emotional control. Ultimate strength. Let's talk about control, not over her, but over yourself. Emotional control is the most underrated skill a man can have. It's what separates boys from men, reaction from response, chaos from calm. Most men fail because they let their emotions drive the interaction. 1 minute she doesn't text back, and their mind's racing. Is she losing interest? Did I say something wrong? They panic. They spiral. And then they do what most men do. They overcompensate. They double down on attention, on validation, on trying to fix something that was never broken, except in their own heads. But here's the truth. Women don't test you to hurt you. They test you to see you, to feel whether you're grounded, to check if you're a man who can weather the storm. Because whether they know it or not, they're biologically wired to be drawn to strength. And emotional strength is the highest form of it. Now, I'm not talking about shutting off your feelings. This isn't about pretending things don't matter. It's about how you carry yourself when they do. Imagine this. She throws a little jab. Maybe she brings up another guy just to see how you react. A man who lacks emotional control will get jealous, defensive. He'll lash out or withdraw. But a man who's mastered his emotions, he doesn't flinch. He smiles. He knows who he is. He knows his value isn't shaken by games or tests. That energy, it's addictive. Because deep down, women don't want to control you. They want to feel safe around you. Safe in your energy. Safe in your presence. Safe in knowing that no matter what chaos life throws your way, you won't lose yourself. There's an old Zen proverb. The man who controls his emotions controls the world. And it's true. When you stop being reactive, you start being effective. You stop trying to manage her behavior, and instead, manage your response to it. That's when you become a fortress, calm, stable, unshaken. You want to stand out from the crowd of desperate, needy, emotionally erratic men. Master restraint. Let your silence carry more weight than their arguments. Let your smile disarm her tests. Let your stillness speak for itself. Because the moment she realizes she can't control your emotions, she becomes drawn to the man who can. And that man is rare. He's unforgettable. He becomes the emotional anchor in a world full of storms. And trust me, women don't walk away from anchors. They hold on for dear life. But how do you create that effect, that irresistible pull? That begins with understanding what very few men ever figure out. Part 4. The scarcity effect. Here's a truth that might hurt a little. If she thinks she's already got you, she stops working to keep you. Not because she's cruel, but because human nature is wired that way. We value what we think we might lose. We crave what isn't always within reach. The moment she feels you're a guarantee, the guy who always replies instantly, always says yes, always cancels plans to see her, she may appreciate you, but she won't obsess over you. Because obsession comes from uncertainty, from the possibility of loss, from scarcity. And scarcity isn't something you fake. It's something you become through how you live. You want her to think about you all the time. Stop being available all the time. Don't text her every hour. Don't respond the second your phone buzzes. Not to be distant, but because you have things to do. Because you're on your purpose. Because your life is too full to revolve around hers. A high-value man doesn't make his time scarce to manipulate. It's scarce because it's real. He has goals, discipline, a schedule. And any woman who wants to be in his orbit has to earn that space. That's not arrogance. That's reality. That's how you separate yourself from every other guy blowing up her phone. Think of luxury brands. They don't go on sale. They don't chase customers. They exist with value and let the world catch up. That's how you need to be. You don't build desire by giving more. You build it by being something worth earning. So when you're with her, be present, be engaged, let her feel seen. But when you're not with her, live, build, grind, create a life that's so rich, so fulfilling, so full, that she feels lucky to be a part of it. And the best part? When you genuinely stop centering your life around her, she starts centering hers around you. Not because you asked, but because you became the rare man who doesn't chase. And that makes her want you even more. So here's the mindset shift. Don't make her your everything. Become someone so magnetic, so rare, so in demand, that she feels like she's winning a prize, not just sharing time. That's how the dynamic flips. That's how you become unforgettable. And that's how you create space for real attraction to grow. Not because you're always there, but because she's never quite sure when you will be again. That space, that mystery, that scarcity, it's the spark. And now, you'll learn how to use that spark without even saying a word. Because mystery, real, deliberate mystery, is your next level. Part 5. The Art of Controlled Mystery. There's something powerful about not knowing, something that pulls us in when we feel like we almost understand someone, but not quite. That's mystery, and it's one of the most intoxicating forces in human psychology. See, most men ruin the game before it even begins. They meet a woman, and within days, they've laid their whole life on the table. Every feeling, every childhood trauma, every future plan, every scar, every scarred over ex. And in their head, they think, I'm being honest, I'm being open, I'm building connection. But what they're really doing is removing all the curiosity, all the suspense, all the magic. You don't need to tell her your whole story in one sitting. In fact, the less you say, the more she wants to know. Think about the movies or books that stayed with you, the ones you couldn't put down. They didn't give everything away in the first 5 minutes. They kept you turning pages, waiting for the next reveal. That's what you need to become. A book worth reading, a story told in layers, a man who reveals just enough to spark her curiosity, but never so much that she feels like she's figured you out. It's not about lying. It's not about pretending. It's about being intentional. Instead of dumping every detail, drop hints, tease ideas, let her ask questions. And when she does, don't rush to answer. Let her lean in. Let her wonder. Maybe she asks about your childhood. You smile, tilt your head and say, that's a long story. Maybe I'll tell you the good parts next time. Boom. Now she's curious. Now she's thinking about you after the date ends. Now you're not just another guy. Now you're a puzzle. The moment you become fully known, you become less exciting. Not because you're not interesting, but because there's no longer a mystery to uncover. And women? They chase the mystery. They feel attraction when their mind is engaged, when their curiosity is alive, when they're not quite sure what you'll say next, or how you really feel. Controlled mystery is not manipulation. It's magnetism. And it works because it taps into something deep inside her, the need to discover, to uncover, to explore. If she knows how the story ends, she stops turning the page. But if there's always something more to learn, something just out of reach, she stays hooked. So don't be afraid to hold something back. Don't overshare. Don't rush to explain every motive or intention. Let your silence have weight. Let your presence do the talking. Because in that space of not knowing, that's where attraction grows. But sometimes, the most powerful move you'll ever make isn't about holding back words. It's about walking away when the moment calls for it, and not looking back. Part 6. Walking away is the nuclear option. Every man hits that moment when he's tested, disrespected, or simply no longer prioritized. And in that moment, he has a choice. He can chase, he can plead, he can try to fix what's breaking, or he can walk. And that, right there, is the line that separates high-value men from the rest. Walking away isn't a game. It's not a move to make her miss you. It's a reflection of something deeper, your standards, your self-respect, your ability to choose yourself when someone else stops choosing you. Most guys can't do it. They'll stay in something that's one-sided. They'll cling to a version of her that existed at the beginning, but is long gone. They'll try harder, give more, send longer texts, hoping to reignite what they never truly had. But the man who knows his worth doesn't argue to stay. He simply leaves, not with bitterness, not with revenge, just with peace, with a steady voice and a quiet exit. And here's what that does. It shocks her system. because she's not used to that. Most guys crumble under pressure. Most guys try to win her back. But the man who walks away with calm certainty, he becomes unforgettable because he didn't make her his son. He didn't orbit her. He didn't trade his dignity for attention. He simply observed the situation, realized it no longer aligned with his standards, and walked. And whether she admits it or not, that hits different. That stays with her. Because while other men beg to be chosen, you chose yourself. It's not easy. It requires strength, stillness, clarity. It means letting go of the outcome and standing firm in who you are. But when you master that, you become untouchable. Women respect men who have the strength to walk away, not because they're cold, but because they refuse to accept less than they deserve. And deep down, that's what every woman wants. A man who doesn't need her, but chooses her. A man who can leave at any moment, but stays only because he wants to, not because he's afraid to lose her. So the next time you feel yourself getting pulled into emotional chaos, pause. Ask yourself, am I moving from fear or from power? Because when you know you can walk away, everything changes. You stop chasing, you stop begging, and you start attracting everything that's truly meant for you. You become the man she never forgets, the one who didn't flinch, the one who didn't fold, the one who could have stayed, but didn't have to. That's the ultimate power. And the best part? You don't even have to use it often. Just knowing you can makes all the difference. Part 7. Build a life that doesn't need her, but she craves. Let me tell you something that'll shift everything. When your life becomes so rich, so purposeful, so full of fire and direction, women feel it before they ever know you. They feel it in the way you speak, the way you move, the way you carry yourself without needing anyone to complete you. That energy is rare, and it's irresistible. See, most men try to build attraction by pouring all their energy into her, planning every date, replying instantly, being endlessly available, offering their time like it's free. But here's the truth. When you make her your mission, you lose her. But when you make your mission, she wants in. She wants to be close to that purpose, that drive, that man who doesn't just talk about his goals, but wakes up and lives them. You want her to chase? Then give her something worth chasing. A man who's moving, building, becoming. A man who doesn't stall his dreams for attention. A man who's already full. And if she joins him, that's a bonus, not a necessity. And no, this doesn't mean you become a robot who ignores emotion or never enjoys connection. It means you've structured your life in a way where you are the center, not someone else's interest in you. You go to the gym because you respect your body, not because you want to impress her. You learn, you build, you grow, because you have a standard for yourself, not because you're hoping it makes you more desirable. But ironically, that's exactly what makes you desirable. Because when she looks at you and sees a man who's already fulfilled, who laughs with his friends, who keeps his promises to himself, who doesn't flinch when she takes a little longer to reply, she starts thinking, what would it feel like to be part of his world? That's the shift. You stop trying to impress her, and instead, you impress yourself every day. And from that place of internal power, everything changes. You become magnetic, not by pushing, but by simply existing as the man she didn't even realize she was waiting for. It's the difference between needing her and choosing her. And when you make that shift, she feels it deeply. But to truly become that man, to hold that energy consistently, you've got to understand the dynamic that sits underneath all of this. The energy that silently governs how attraction flows. And that energy is polarity. Part 8. Masculine polarity. Calm chaos. Masculine energy is stillness, direction, focus. It's the eye of the storm that stays unmoved while the world spins around it. And in relationships, this kind of energy is everything, because feminine energy is movement, emotion, flow. It wants to feel. It wants to express. It wants to test boundaries to see if they'll hold. Now, if you've ever found yourself getting caught in someone else's emotional roller coaster, trying to fix, to soothe, to match their intensity, you've probably noticed it doesn't work. In fact, it usually makes things worse. Because when masculine energy loses its ground, everything gets thrown off balance. But when you hold calm in the middle of chaos, that's when she softens. That's when she leans in. Because she feels safe. Not safe in the provider sense, but emotionally safe. Safe in knowing that she can feel all her feelings, throw all her tests, express her doubts, and you're still there. Grounded, solid, unmoved. Think about it. Why are emotionally unavailable men so attractive to so many women, at least in the beginning? It's not because they're cruel. It's because they don't overreact. Their emotional distance gives the illusion of strength. But the problem is, they're not present either. And long-term, that emptiness always shows. What you want is presence without pressure, depth without dependency, a calm so strong it doesn't ignore her feelings, but it doesn't drown in them either. A calm that says, you're safe here, you can feel what you feel. I won't run, I won't chase, I won't fall apart. That's masculine polarity. It's not about being stoic and cold. It's about being rooted and real. It's about staying centered even when she's testing you. Because those tests aren't cruelty. They're curiosity. She's not trying to push you away. She's trying to find out if you can be trusted not to fold. And when she sees that you don't collapse under emotional weight, that you don't argue, don't explain, don't react to every shift in her mood, she starts to trust. Not just you, but the space between you. Because she knows it won't disappear the moment things get intense. This is how you become a man she can lean into. Not because you force it, but because you embody what she craves, stability in a world full of volatility. So stay calm, stay grounded. Let her feel your stillness when she's spinning. That contrast, your calm to her chaos, is what makes her feel safe and alive. And that feeling? That's what she never wants to lose. Part 9. The rule most men ignore, but high-value men live by. Here's something most guys never realize until it's too late. In every interaction, emotional balance is everything. And the rule is simple. Never be more invested than she is. Now that doesn't mean you play games or hold back love when it's real. It just means you stay aware. Because the moment you start pouring more energy into her than she's pouring into you, the dynamic shifts. You start chasing. She starts pulling away. And worst of all, she starts feeling what no one wants to feel in a relationship. Obligation. You've probably seen this. Maybe you've lived it. You do everything right. You show up. You make plans. You compliment her, support her, prioritize her. And she slowly drifts. Not because you're not enough, but because she didn't have to work for any of it. And what comes easy is rarely valued. But high-value men live by a different rule. They don't overinvest. They don't assume interest. They observe. They match energy. If she's calling, texting, showing up, they meet her there. If she pulls back, they don't chase. They step back too. Not out of spite, out of awareness. Because they understand something most guys ignore. Attention is a currency. And when you give it away too freely, it becomes worthless. You want her to feel something real? Then let her earn your energy. Let her wonder if she's meeting your standards, not just the other way around. That doesn't mean you act like a jerk. It means you know your worth. And when a man truly knows his worth, he doesn't overextend himself just to feel wanted. He gives where he's received. He leads when she's willing to follow. He loves, but never from a place of lack. So next time you find yourself doing more, texting more, trying harder, pause. Ask yourself, is she matching me? Or am I trying to make up for her indifference with my effort? Because when you stop doing that, when you stop forcing it, everything changes. The energy balances, the chase reverses, and you reclaim the power you were giving away. Which brings us to the deepest shift of all, the one that doesn't just change how you act, it changes who you are. Part 10. Become the man who doesn't chase, because he doesn't have to. There's a quiet kind of power in a man who no longer feels the need to prove himself. A man who isn't moved by compliments or shaken by silence, who doesn't need to chase, because he's already full, already clear, already complete. That man walks differently, talks differently, shows up in rooms with a presence that doesn't beg to be seen, but is impossible to ignore. And that's what this is really about. Not tricks, not tactics, not surface-level confidence, but a deep, grounded identity. One that says, I know who I am, I know what I want, and if you're not aligned with that, I won't chase. I'll bless you and keep moving. You want to become that man? Then you've got to build from the inside out. Not for her, for you. Build habits that make you proud. Keep promises to yourself. Show up for your goals, your health, your purpose, every single day. Because here's what happens when you do. You stop needing love to feel whole. You stop craving attention to feel seen. You stop chasing, because everything you were chasing is something you've already built within yourself. And that's when it happens. That's when women start leaning in, wondering, what is it about him? Why do I think about him when he's not around? It's not the cologne. It's not the car. It's not the texts or the jokes. It's the energy, the calm, the self-respect, the quiet strength that says, I don't chase, I attract. So, wherever you are in life right now, whether you're in a relationship, healing from one, or building towards something real, remember this. You don't have to force it. You don't have to run after anyone. All you have to do is rise. Rise into your purpose. Rise into your standards. Rise into the man who knows that the best love, the most powerful, magnetic, unforgettable kind, doesn't come from chasing. It comes from being. So be the man she can't forget. The one who stays calm, stays grounded, stays true to himself no matter what. And when you do, you'll realize something you always suspected, deep down. You were never meant to chase. You were meant to lead. And now, finally, you're ready. Call to action. If something in this resonated with you, if a part of you felt like, damn, that's who I've been trying to become, then don't let this just be another video you watch and forget. Let it be the turning point. The moment where you stop chasing, stop doubting, stop explaining, and start living from power. And if you're ready to take that journey deeper, to sharpen your presence, master your emotions, and become the kind of man women feel before they even notice your looks, then stick around. This channel is built for you. Hit that like button so this message reaches the men who need it most. Subscribe if you're building a life so magnetic, it speaks for itself. And in the comments, tell me one moment where you chose to stop chasing and everything changed. Let's build a brotherhood of men who know their worth, live with quiet strength, and attract not by trying, but by being. Until next time, stay grounded, stay focused, and let them chase you.